This is Julie Kinney and Taylor Weinfurter from Marathon County Public Library. And their self-titled presentation is STEM, STEAM, STREAM, oh my.
So
take it away.
Thanks. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off and give you a little tiny history about what STEM, STEAM, and STREAM are all about, and we have some examples of different programming that we've done, and yay pictures. And then we have the opportunity, if you want to come and take a look. We do most of our STEAM, STEM, or STREAM things do circulate out to our branches, and one of the things that Taylor and I were just talking about is the possibility of them circulating through WVLS as well, so we'll work with Ann to make that a thing.
Okay,
So,
I found this on the web for circulating.
So basically, we're going to start off with, and I gave you guys a set of notes so you can follow along if you want. The STEM education movement kind of grows out of the 1960s space race. There was a huge push, especially in the United States, to educate students and encourage them to study science and technology in order for us to kind of be the leading country, to be on the forefront, for those of us who remember the Cold War, all of that kind of stuff happening, and we wanted to be a nation that develops and innovates. So as technology has changed and times have changed, we've discovered that there are fewer and fewer students who are expressing an interest in pursuing STEM-related careers, and the need for that STEM-educated workforce grows. I just heard on NPR that we're asking lots and lots of foreign students who have a bigger background in STEM to come and fill all of these jobs that we have available that we can't find people here for.
Go next. There we go.
So one of our jobs, of the many thousands as librarians, is to help the children discover and learn about those different topics covered by science, technology, art, engineering, math, and how to use the R, reading and writing, and I added research, to become critical thinkers and lifelong learners. So no matter what you call it, we should view STEM, STEAM, STREAM as a way to encourage creativity, critical thinking, and communication. So we're going to first look at STEM. So STEM is just the very basic. It's science, technology, engineering, and math. Basically, it's viewed as a way for students to experience some of the different topics that are covered by science, technology, engineering, and math, and give them an idea of what their careers could be in the future. So we've done volcano science, earthquake science, Lego building, and we teach some of the basic coding classes like Scratch, and some coding games, and then for basic math skills, I have our math card games, including cribbage. So it's just kind of a fun way to incorporate old stuff and new stuff. So this is one of Taylor's. Taylor, do you want to talk about your Three Little Pigs building?
Yeah, so I do a lot with the elementary schools. I'll go out to schools and do some of these programs. So one we've recently done is the Three Little Pigs in the Big Bad Building, we called it. So basically we read the story of the Three Little Pigs first, other variations of the tale too. Like there's the Three Ninja Pigs, kids really enjoy that. The Three Little Pigs and the Three Little Fish and the Big Bad Shark is another good one. So we'll read some fun stories first so you get the literacy aspect there. And then we'll talk about, what did the story teach us about different types of materials, the strengths of materials, what kind of materials would you like your house to be made out of? And then we basically challenge them to create their own building. And so you can see there's toilet paper tubes, popsicle sticks, we've used cups before, and glue and rubber bands to kind of bind things. So then kids, it's just a big open exploration, and they can build whatever kind of building they want. And then we have a hair dryer with little ears on it that is the Big Bad Wolf. So then they can come and test and see if their building can withstand Big Bad Wolf's huffing and puffing. So it's kind of a quick, it's pretty easy, basic supplies, nothing crazy expensive or something you can't find from Walmart or Target. So
And then you also did bubble science.
yeah, another one we did was bubble science. So see here we made a snake bubble wands using different type of cloth. We added some art aspects. We did bubble paintings. So mixed just some bubble solution with food coloring. Kids can blow bubbles and then basically imprint it. And we also you can make your own types of wands too, using like cutting apart straws, using string. So
Okay, so Mighty Mini Machines was something that was done by one of our branches. We've done something similar with making little tiny robots, but it was basically the same kind of thing where you use household materials to just construct a little machine and just see how it works and see if you can get it to go. And then I threw this in. We had the really wonderful people from the Wausau Area Paranormal Research Society. Every Halloween they come and do a haunted Wausau presentation for us. Last February we asked them to come back and talk about the different kinds of tools that they use. So we felt that this kind of fit in giving even adults the opportunity to explore and look at different kinds of tools that people might use, in this case, to look for ghosts. All of those things have other, you can measure the electromagnetics of your room or your house to make sure that it isn't too electromagnetic-y, or whatever. But I just thought it was kind of fun for you to see that we try to bring all aspects in. And then we always do Lego building. These are Lego buildings at our Marathon branch. And if you come upstairs to our children's area, we do display the Lego buildings. It's a really big deal. The kids make a little card that says what it is that they've created and their name, and it's a chance for them to show off kind of their Lego building skills. Okay. So now we're on to STEAM. This incorporates art a little bit the way the bubble science did. It can include all aspects of art, so not just the visual arts. You could include music, creative writing, doing something oral, like some oral communications. In schools, the idea of integrating the arts into science, doing things like creating a lab report or thinking about design factors and sounds when you're building a coding website, all help students understand how important it is to be thinking of the artistic or the aesthetic. So one of the easy ones, we have yet to do a program on it, but I thought it was kind of cool, is the golden mean, which is the proportion that causes things to spiral. So as you can see here, the golden mean fits over Mona Lisa perfectly, and it's the same spiral that you find in nature. So that will probably be a program coming up. This one was mine. It's called Attack the Fort. What we did when I do my STEAM programs, I usually do it for tweens, grades 3 to 6, and I usually do a really short PowerPoint presentation. In this case, I did a really short one on war machines, and the kids got a chance to see kind of where the idea of catapults and trebuchets and all of that kind of comes from. And then at the same time, we also talked about Troy, and how the walls around Troy fell and the Trojan War and things like that. And then we built our catapults, which if you were at the YZ thing, I think in February or March, we built some catapults. And I had the kids experiment with cotton balls, Legos, and beans to decide which one would be more effective in pushing the boxes down. So all you had to do was collect boxes. Those are craft sticks and rubber bands. Some of them are a little more fancy. I hot glue gunned on some little bottle caps. I think overall the feeling was the bottle caps didn't work quite as well as just plain. And beans are actually the weapon of choice with catapults. So we just had a big giant jar of dried beans that we used. Part of that is the kids were responsible for picking up every single cotton ball, bean, and Lego. That was a big part of it. So yeah, I was not going to crawl around and pick up beans. But they were awesome about it, and we did it. Half of the group built theirs, half of the group built the fort, and then we flip-flopped. The other half built theirs, and then all the other group built the fort, and it was awesome. They had a great time. This is another one that if you were at February, you saw us do. This was my Teen Tech Week program. We made LED jellies, or the LED throwies is the original basis of it. It's a small LED light, it's attached to a flat battery and a magnet. These were originally created by artists in San Francisco to create short-term light-up graffiti art. So they would and you can throw them. As you can see, we threw these at our whiteboard and they actually stuck pretty well. So they would throw them and use them they would make hundreds of them and then throw them at various things to light them up. Somebody sort of hacked that and made a version where you can make a little jellyfish to go around your LED, your LED throwy. The jellyfishes don't throw quite as well, but it gives, as you can see, I had 3 boys. The 3 boys were so into like cutting out their little round part and sewing it so that they could pull it tight to make the little jelly head. And they were super into like hot glue gunning the little tentacles onto the pieces. I mean, most teenage boys would not think that sewing was a fun idea, and these kids were totally into it. So it kind of was a combination of new and old that I like that combination. I think it provides kids with skills that they need as well. So STREAM is something that I've just sort of tipped my toe in a little bit. This one recognizes the importance of literacy as the basis for all further learning. I'm a former reading teacher. I believe that reading, you can't do anything unless you can read. So in addition to learning how to read and learning how to use reading and writing as you're creating something, I think research is another important point. I'm probably the only person who's like, oh, the R meant research, before I realized it meant reading and writing. But I thought that it's important because part of our remit as librarians, especially school librarians, is we're going to get students who need to do research on something. They might need to find out if someone has conducted a scientific experiment before, what were the results. So reading and research are all, to me, kind of a part of the same piece. And so I just stuck the big 6 research skills on here. I took an awesome class about video games in the library, and we talked about these things. These are all things that you can do in video games. You have to define your task. Do I have to kill the monster? Do I have to find the treasure? Do I have to find the princess? What kind of information-seeking strategies can I use? Where can I find them? Well, I know I need a sword, so I have to do this, this, and this in order to get a sword. And how am I using that information? And then synthesis and evaluation. Did I do a good job? Did what I do get me where I wanted to go? And I just think, we have so many kids that come in today that are here, especially here in Wausau, to do research for National History Day, that sometimes I think, they've forgotten, where they are on this list. And so sometimes it's just nice to ask them, what are you looking for? Why are you looking for it? What kinds of information do you need? So just more of a reminder. So this is Twisted Tales, which is coming up when? January?
I think it's February.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to do a Twisted Tales program where, kind of like the 3 Little Pigs in the Big Bad Building, we're going to read fractured fairy tales. So again, I'll probably ask the kids, do you know the story of the 3 Little Pigs? Let's tell it, just a quick version of it. And then we'll read the Twisted Tale and talk about, what's different with the characters or the plot, the setting. And then part of so that's kind of the research, reading, writing aspect. And then we're going to have them make some sort of twisted castle or structure using different types of building materials like pipe cleaners, probably, again, craft sticks, little wooden blocks. Those are excellent for building. So it's kind of hitting on the art aspect as well, too, getting creative and making it, you can decorate it if you want to.
So, and then in January for my tweens team, we're doing abstract art and resistance painting. So we'll look at a variety of abstract art, use masking tape to create our own abstract piece, and while we're waiting for our abstract art to dry, there's going to be some research, probably it'll be some kind of scavenger hunt about the abstract art movement, just so the kids get an idea of, hey, it takes a lot more work than to just drip paint on a canvas and say it's good. So yeah, just getting that research piece in while you're having fun. So both Taylor and I are doing outreach. right now we're doing outreach at the elementary schools. Last quarter Taylor was at Grant. This quarter I'm at Lincoln. Do you know where you're going third quarter?
Riverview, and then John Marshall.
And then John Marshall. So we go to the elementary schools and we usually do something with our STEAM or STEM projects that we have. Basically, because we're lucky enough to have a very generous friends group, we're able to sort of buy supplies, assemble a kit, and then keep the kit in circulation, either through outreach or by sending it out to our branches. And like I said, hopefully through WVLS as well.
How often do you go?
They have 4 sessions a year, and then there's 6 weeks in length.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do about 6 different programs.
And then the last session, they come to the library.
Yeah, we just started implementing that. So
Yeah.
they come here on the last one so they can see the space, get a library card, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I love the idea of outreach, of making people, of bringing the library to people who can't maybe necessarily come to the library. So again, like I said, we're lucky enough to receive our funding through our very, very generous friends group. Taylor and I figured that usually a STEAM program costs about $50. And if somebody else is going to use it, we tend to resupply it throughout the year. Some of them are a little more expensive. The LEDs probably runs about $75 just to get the batteries and the correct magnets, and the LED lights are kind of expensive. But a lot of it is just basic stuff that you have around the house, or can buy fairly cheaply, craft sticks.
And this afternoon, I'm actually doing a boat science program this afternoon in our children's area, and I'm just using tubs with water and then tin foil. So we're going to talk about buoyancy, how boats float, and then kids are going to get to construct their own boats out of tin foil, which is, I think I've had a roll, and this is my 2nd or 3rd time doing it, so however much a roll of tin foil costs. And then,
Some water.
And water, and we're using our toy dinosaurs as our sinking agents. So
There are sailors.
yes, they're the
Our
sailors.
nautical.
So yeah, so that one's an example of something very, very cheap that.
And Taylor and I made a list of most of the stuff that we've done. We broke it into younger kids, sort of the tween, and then some of the stuff that I've done for teens. So you're welcome, and I put my contact information and Taylor's contact information on there. Email is probably best because we share a phone with like 6 other people. But if you have questions or you want to know, I tend to keep my lists with where I got all of my materials, where I ordered them from. I tend to keep those so that I can always go back and replenish if I have to. So if you're curious about, hey, where did you get 7 cribbage boards? I'll be able to look it up and tell you. Or where did you get your ideas for the math card games? And I have them all put together. So, yeah.
If you're looking for the handouts, they're on the left-hand side of your folder,
So, questions? You have a question for me?
Do you ever use Millboards? Again?
I am not.
Well,
Try
one of
them.
those adding and subtracting things.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
And we do have our coworker Sharon she calls it Little Explorers, and that's for preschool age children. So one of the things I have on the list here is Keep the Cat button map. So they'll read Keep the Cat and explore groovy buttons, and then kids can construct their own Keep the Cat, add buttons, take some off. You can find some cool worksheets out there that have simple addition, subtraction problems. Yeah, we have scavenger hunt with Keep the Cat, it's a huge hit, so it's very popular.
Keep the cat still up so you can go down and see him, right?
No, he's down.
Oh, he's down. Okay, sorry.
But yeah, that one's always a huge hit. I think we even have a flannel board too, so kids can play with it and take off the buttons, how many are there, and yeah, it's just a fun way to start the basic concepts. So another one I want to talk about too is right at the top was mouse paint baby painting. I did this one back in January. We have a Messy Monday program after the book babies. So our last book we read was Mouse Paint, and for those of you who don't know, it's about these mice that jump in red, yellow, and blue paint, and then they jump in a little puddle and mix them, so then they make the secondary colors. So after we read that book, we took a little piece of paper, put it in a Ziploc bag, added the primary colors, and then the babies could kind of mix it, and their parents could discuss what was happening and what colors were, coming about with the mixtures. So that's another really fun one. I think even preschool kids would enjoy that one as well. And yeah, there's lots of stuff out there. So
I think both Taylor and I do a lot of Pinterest looking to see what's out there on Pinterest and what people have done. So there are some really great boards. There are some teachers out there that are Pinterest fanatics that put everything up there. So sometimes it's a great starting point if you're like, oh, I want to do something with weather science, but I don't know what to do.
and yeah, from the list we tried to put just either stations we did or activities we did. So that's kind of the idea there. So if anybody has any questions about any of those, we can talk more about them.
I'm interested in how you promote your programs.
We do, so we have someone who makes our posters for us and makes flyers for us. And downstairs in the children's area, they have flyers and posters available. I send posters to all of the elementary schools in Marathon County and all of the high schools and middle schools in Marathon County. So depending upon what the age is, I'll send out a packet of posters. I usually, depending upon sort of his work schedule and workload, I might send out one mailing a month, maybe 2 mailings a month. So that part is pretty time consuming. And I know that there are places like in Stratford or in Spencer or even Athens where people are not likely to come, but I feel like it's important that they know that there's some options out there. So
Yeah, and normally we've had a huge success with all of our STEAM programming. I feel like that's my programs that are the most highly attended, I think. And parents would be like, oh, this is great. Are you doing something like this next month? And be like, yes, we are actually. Next month is boat science was on my last program. So then let's have the flyers ready. And
What time of day is that?
last year I did these from 6 to 7 p.m. just so I could reach kids that, if mom and dad work late, they could come later. But there just wasn't that great of a turnout. So now I do it after school from 4 to 5. And my attendance has really gone up a lot. So.
And the tween STEAM programs that we did last spring were really highly attended. They run from 4 to 5:30, and they're always on the third Tuesday of the month, just to kind of keep it consistent. This year with school starting back up, my attendance for that has really dropped off, so I don't know exactly what happened. But I like the after school time for tweens. I think it works out really, really well. Teens are always really hit and miss. I don't get a lot of older teens. Like once they hit driving age and get a driver's license, they sort of disappear for me. So I do try to concentrate on sort of the middle school, freshman, sophomore kinds of kids. I get a bigger turnout in the summer than I do in the winter in general.
And back to how we promote things as well. Has anybody heard of the Wisconsin Science Festival before? Okay, yeah, we usually partner with them. It's based out of Madison, I think at their big research institute, and it's basically a statewide event. And so you can get put in their flyer for free. They've sent us promotional materials too. Like we got cool little syringe pens to give out at our events.
They were
colored
very
sheet
cool.
pencils.
Yeah.
So, but they're great and then all of our information, what our program is it's listed by region, I believe. So we were in the north central Wisconsin part. But yeah, there's somebody great and free that you can partner with.
Yeah.
And yeah, just Google Wisconsin Science Festival. It's usually the end of October. So, and yeah, I've had great success with it.
Me less so. I did banana autopsy for mine this year, and I was thinking, we'll have everybody there. It was my mom and another older lady and my teen helper were the only 3 people who showed up to autopsy bananas. But
But that's something that we can take to the schools, hopefully,
Yeah.
with these after-school programs. And
Yeah.
I think kids in group 5 would love that too.
so your banana is pretty mushy by the time you get to look at it. So yeah, but we give them like little internal hemorrhaging and eyeballs and everything. Yeah.
I'd show up.
I know, right? That's what I thought too, but no.
I'm there.
Any other questions?
Are they edible?
Well, after I got done doctoring them up, the bananas, I used tomato sauce. So unless you like tomato sauce and bananas, they're probably not particularly edible. I did have some, but I had some that just were covered in dirt and glitter. So, like in my mind, it was a banana bus that crashed on its way home from a club. So there was dirt and glitter involved, and some had head injuries. Some of them had internal bleeding. My mom actually, I made like a little form that my mom actually like filled out very completely about the autopsy, where it said stem and head, and my mom wrote fractured, and then for the digestive system, my mom wrote seeds intact. So she's a nurse, and I conned her into coming to help us sew up our bananas after we were done. That was why my mom came. So just the 3 people that were there, I'm like, all right, we're just gonna autopsy bananas, and if anybody comes in, we'll get them started too. So that's kind of what happened with that. So.
Some of our programs too, we'll give away books as well that are somehow related. So in January, I'm doing grossology. That's a really fun one. If you want to get kids in, we made our own fake snot. So that's just green gack. We're gonna make like a blood sample using Cheerios, marshmallows, red food coloring, just kind of show what blood's made out of. The germ trialing experiment.
Yep, the germ trialing experiment.
That's where you take hand sanitizer, you put glitter in it. So when one person starts and you kind of go around and
shake hands.
Yeah, and then the last person will still have glitter on them. So just kind of a visual of how germs travel.
When we did it at Spooky Science, it was zombie germs. Which then the one child who came to Spooky Science refused to shake hands with me because he did not want to be a zombie. So.
But yeah, we've gotten a lot of our books through Scholastic, so I'm sure you guys have it. They're reasonably priced and good stuff out there.
And and we just have we had extra books left over from our summer. Some of the stuff that we're giving away is just because we have, someone ordered us 60 copies, and we can't convince enough children to take volcanoes. So.
But Volcano Science is a huge hit, so
yeah.
So then kids come and we're like, hey, would you like a book as well? And of course. And
Do you explode a volcano for Volcano Science?
yes, so Volcano Science, you just buy some clay, have kids construct it. We talked about the different kinds of volcanoes, like fissure vents and the cone and plateau ones, and then kids get to construct their own, and then we explode it with baking soda and vinegar, and it's very fun. That one's been a huge hit. We've done it at the schools as well, and very fun one. Yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, we do have some examples of stuff too that we can.
Yeah, if you want to come up and take a look or take a look at, that's all we have. You guys are.
Can I ask a brainstorming question?
Sure.
And this is take what you're doing and then thinking of, because you just made me think of integrating the R, the read and writing research piece into it. We did this year, and we're going to do it again next year, a tech camp, a maker camp at our school's Fab Lab. It was great, it was wonderful, we learned a lot through the process. And basically we show up there, we publicize it, we show up, we get the kids there, and then we let the staff run with it. But the idea of integrating reading, research, writing, without it being like school.
Right, yeah.
Any thoughts?
A lot of times, I would sort of frame it as, hey, you've made something really cool. Could you write the steps down so that somebody else could make it? That would be an option. Another option would be if you're going to do something with 3D printers or coding, is to even bring some laptops and have kids try an hour of code.
Which we're doing coding.
Yeah. So that's really
truth tables.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. But yeah, anything like that where you can have them write directions for somebody else, I think is really good. Or to just bring other examples, like from books. So if they're building something, like if they're building a building, you can bring lots of architecture books to show them, these are the different kinds of buildings. You could focus on famous architecture or a famous artist, and as a teacher, I loathed the scavenger hunt. As a librarian, I think they're a godsend. But the scavenger hunt is actually a really good way to just kind of turn kids loose and let them experiment for themselves in finding materials and figuring out what's a good source and what's maybe not a good source. I would do it with my kids and they'd be like, oh, this is so boring. And then I would do it with kids at the library and they'd be like, this is so exciting. So, yeah.
And before volcano science, each kid got a copy of the book and actually asked for readers to help me read aloud. And so we talked about, just examples of volcanoes. We didn't read the whole book, but just certain pages. And kids were, I was like, oh great, nobody's gonna want to read, but everybody wanted to read. So
I think it's if it's a more of a low stakes comfort kind of thing, I think more kids are going to be more apt to read things. I think sometimes school for a lot of kids feels really high stakes, especially if they're kids that aren't spectacularly good at reading or writing. So if you can integrate that in a really low stakes kind of way for them, I think that will really be helpful. Just writing directions or even getting a set of directions and having to read them to you. When I taught primarily EL students and special ed students, and one of the things we did was functional literacy, which meant we all went down to the kitchen and baked or cooked something, which, believe me, high school students and knives, lots of deep breaths, high school students, knives, and stoves, lots of anxiety. But for the most part, it was always really interesting to see where these kids were, what was missing, in their ability to read and figure out because we don't write every single step out in perfect detail. So what do I have to think about before I go on to the next step? So I think that would be really helpful too.
Everywhere.
Yes, those are the ones that I did.
This is the banana autopsy.
You had autopsy.
There's a report, decorated them.
Yep.
There's tomato sauce.
Yes, I know there is. That's why I laid them on. So yeah, here. So I kept a good tomato sauce, and I bought a actual this thing that you would use to put.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Is that the one for roasting?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and I use this to give my bananas internal injuries. So tomato sauce and this. Those are the pens that we got from Wisconsin Science. Yeah, and we got. These are our little. We got little forceps, and we bought. These are dissection, and this was actually not that expensive. We got. These are forceps for holding things, and then dissection scissors. So yeah, so the forceps were basically just the kind that you can click closed or click open. And then we actually bought, off of Amazon, surprisingly, we bought surgical sutures.
Surgical suture.
Yeah. They come with, the needle is actually already attached.
Holy cow.
My mom was the queen. My mom was a surgical nurse before she went off and did management, and so she was the queen of showing us how to do this. It comes like this. There's the little needle, and here's the little thread. And it's 4.0. My mom suggested after I ordered everything that I had gotten something slightly larger than a 4.0. So it's all about
my gosh, for
using your needle like this.
what age group did you
This was for teens. Yeah, this is for teens. So my mom was the queen. She came in and showed us how to do it, and showed us how to make little surgical knots. And like she said you probably want something if you were going to do it. They come in different sizes. She said, get a larger size, larger than a 4.0. But they sell these for people to practice on through Amazon. For people to practice, if you're going to school to become a nurse or to become a surgery tech, they actually sell, it's really weird, they sell
flat pieces of styrofoam with a cut that you can actually practice your stitches on. So yeah, so that was how we did them. So, and then I made, my eyeballs are in there, and I made them little outfits.
Oh my
So they
word.
had little stars. They're the eyeballs that we glued. And we just used, what did we use? We used that tacky glue was the best glue for gluing on eyeballs.
I mean, you could have the teens do this too.
Yeah, and so, but, so that's kind of how that all worked.
So awesome.
So yeah, I was hoping I would get more people to come, but it was fun. The older lady who came had a good time. My mom had a good time. My teen volunteer also had a good time digging around in our banana. So, but yeah, and then we used these. These were our little banana beds, and then we also used them for collecting any kind of debris or evidence. And then here's the filled out form that I made, and then my mom actually filled that one out.
Did you inject the banana with, for instance, the...
I did. I was just saying I used tomato sauce and the roast injector. The sauce injector, which was very messy, but it was very effective at giving internal injuries to bananas. So,
I can't imagine the seeds being intact after that.
yeah, well, some of them were not so good after the whole situation was said and done, but yeah, it worked out pretty well. So I got it out of a book called Forensic Experiments, and the person suggested rolling them in dirt. So they got dirt sprinkled and sparkle sprinkled on them, and then they got injected with stuff. And so yeah.